Okay, today we're going to the halacha if you're allowed to drink before Kidush or Havdalah water or coffee. So, so we have three times Kiddush, Friday night, Shabbos during the day, and Motzei Shabbos Havdalah. So we see that they're all different from each other. So, Lagabe Friday night, it's brought in Shulchan Aruch Resh Ayin Aleph, says like this. Aloha Dalit. Also litom klum kodom sheikadash. You're not allowed to have anything, food or drink, before you make a kiddush. Va'afilu mayim, even water. So Friday night you cannot have even water without kiddush. Now, lagabe, I'll go to Motzei Shabbos. Resh Tzadik Tes says like this. Also le'echol shum dover, afilu lishtas yain, oshar mashkim, chutz memayim. By Motzei Shabbos says, water you're allowed to have. Other beverages, wine, you're not allowed. Water you're allowed to have. Now, the Gabe Shabbos morning, we're going to see that in Reish Pei Vav, it says like this. Mutar Aloha Gimel. Mutar litom koidom tfilas hamusfin. You're allowed to have something not, we're going to see now what it is. The hainu achilas peiros, some fruits, or afilu pas me'at, muat, afilu te'imo sheyesh bo kedei lisad halev, yeah, or either you could have fruits and vegetables, or tima, or even mezoinus, or even bread. Add that says that up to two kazais and kabeya, because that's not soid halev yet. Above that, yes. Aval suuda asura. Suuda it's already over kabeya. So what we see from here, that by koidam musaf, you allowed to have this. The shaila is what's going on with the kiddush. Okay, so we're going to see now where they're coming, all this inyani, why we have this, why we have that. So it's a Gemara and Psachim. That's the origin of all this halachas. If we understand the Gemara, we're going to understand why those differences. So it's like this. The Gemara says like this. Daf Kufen Psachim. Shabbos kovo nafsho. Damarav. Kshem Shabbos kovas leMaiser. Kach Shabbos kovas leKiddush. Shabbos is such an important day. If you have fruits and they didn't give Meiser, even though there is a procedure when it becomes Mechuyev Meiser, when it's a Shabbos itself is as a kvius, even though you don't have the other making that to make this fruit kavur that needs Meiser, Shabbos kovel Meiser. Same thing, it says Shabbos kavas lekiddush. It's such an important day, you cannot start Su'udas Hadei without the Kiddush. Sover Minom, Kiechi the kovel lekiddush, kach kovel havdalah. So we thought same thing idea would be something Shabbos so important as Kaveh Kiddush. You cannot start your Su'udah without the Kiddush. Something Havdalah, you cannot eat anything without Havdalah. Amalu Rav Amram Hochi Amarav. Le Kiddush Kavas, Velo Havdalah Kavas. It's different than Kiddush and Havdalah. Yeah, there's an Indian Havdalah, it's also part of Kiddush Shabbos. What's in of Kiddush? Kodesh, Muvdal, Mufrash Me'acherim. It's different than the rest. Havdalah also that shows that there's a special day. It's different than others, yeah, but it's still not the same. That when you bring the Kiddush at Shabbos, it's Kaveh, we cannot eat without Kiddush, Mashenken Ba'avdollah. So then Gemara says, I'm skipping a little bit, water you allowed to have. So like this, Al Pi Halacha, really, water you allowed to have Motzei Shabbos without Havdalah. That's the halacha. There's less mandapalig on it. However, it's a minhag Chabad that says in Sefer HaMinogim not to have water. And the Kaf HaChaim also bring bunch of poskim. They're saying the same thing. You should not have water before Havdalah. Why? The Gemara says clearly, and nobody less mandapalig, you're allowed to have the water. Why the machmer? So they bring the Kaf HaChaim also bring this. It's based on the Medrash. It says that I'm reading from the Tosfos Daf Kuf Hey. It says V'gamu Rabbeinu Tom Koas al Rabbeinu Meshulam. The Tom was angry and Rabbeinu Meshulam from the Baal HaTosfos Shehinig le'echel ben mincha l'mayriv. That's what most of the olam the shalashudas. According to Rabbeinu Tom, it wasn't such an appropriate thing. Dama b'medrash, how it works the gabe shalashudas. That's not the shiur for that now. But Dama b'medrash hashoysa mayim b'Shabbos. The Tur also bring this medrash hashoysa mayim b'Shabbos ben hashmoshos, meaning after sunset, goizel es kroivav hameisim. That's why he wasn't happy that people are going to drink water. That's one of the reasons, like I said, the minhag, some noyek, not only Chabad, like I said, Kaf HaChaim brings others for him to bring this, that before Havdalah, even though al pi halacha you're allowed to have water, but it's not the kvius Havdalah, it's not as strong as Friday night. Friday night you cannot have water. Mashenke Motor Shabbos you could, but there is an Indian that should be goizel as amazing. That's why we makbid not to drink water. To the point that Kaf HaChaim brings a Yerushalmi. It says over there that that Rabbi Yehuda Nesio, the grandson of Yehuda Hanasi, Tzocha L'Maya, he was thirsty. Let me see if I have it here, if I didn't lose it. Yeah, I think it's here. It says that, yeah. Rabbi Yehuda Nesio Tzocha, he was thirsty. Shal Rav Muna, begin the Ana Tzocha Mao Nishte. Can I drink water because I'm so thirsty? Amar le'ton Rav Chia also lo nitam klum achetechshach. That's the brings on the Birkei from the Chidah, Birkei Yosef. So Mimele mitzad there is an Indian. It's already mitzad more a minhag mitzad of this because of this medrash not. The poskim all of them bring the heter. If you start the shalashudas on time, you could even drink everything, including water. But stam drinking water before Havdalah mitzad the minhag will machmir mitzad halacha yolak. Okay, so that's the difference between Friday night. You cannot even have water because of Kidush Shabbos, and the lotion of the Alter Rebbe. The we know that whenever there's a zman to the mitzvah, we're not allowed to have seuda, but we're allowed to have te'ima. For example, b'digas chametz, we're not allowed to have that time learning seuda. Te'ima, you're allowed to have. Adlokas neres Chanukah. You cannot have Suda before you madlik neres Chanukah. Te'ima you're allowed to have. So, why Friday night it's so severe that even Te'ima you're not allowed to have, even water not to. So the Lashon of the Alter Rebbe, in Reish Ayin Aleph, b'shekol mitzvah kavulam zman, lo also lekva Suda mishegia zmanon. So again, by the way, I like all the notes, before Kiddush you cannot eat. Where it's coming from? Because it's since a Zman Shabbos now, so you cannot start doing anything before you do your Su'udah. I mean, you cannot start the Su'udah without Kiddush. You cannot eat anything before. So, but again, the question, like you said, why Dafka such a chumr, even water? Not? It says over there, Gezer Hashem Yimoshech b'Su'udah v'Yavor Hazman. אבל טימה בעלמא מותר, שאין לו חוש בשם הימושך. Like snacking something, drinking something, it's not חשש, you might forget the mitzvah. בכל מקום, בקידוש, וכן בהבדלה, החמירו יויסר, לגבי סעודה, not לגבי water, ושעיקר מצוות בתחילה זמנם, דהיינו סמוך לכנס עכשיו וסמוך ליצי עושי, that's why I say you cannot have anything before you do your kiddush or havdalah. Now, the it's still not understood. A lot of things, Tchilas Zmanam. Ner Chanukah, Tchilas Zmanam. Even over there, Machloikes, and the Gemara says, Tishka Achamo, Tchilas Shkia, Soif Shkia, but definitely the beginning of the night, or even before, according to the Mandan, Tchilas Shkia. And the same thing, B'dikas Chametz, everybody masking with it. So I think the Aruch HaShulchan, he adds a little bit more to the together combined Aruch HaShulchan. The Alter Rebbe, I think it's understood more. The Aruch HaShulchan adds like this. כיוון שהגיע זמן קידוש, דהיינו משחשיך, אפילו לא קיבל שבס, עדיין אוסר לאכול או לשתות אפילו מים, ואפילו תימא בעלמא עד שיקץ, לפני כבוד השבס, the שבס כובע נפשו והגיע זמנו. Again, that's a Gemara, but the Alter Rebbe more emphasized the union of הגיע זמנו, of it's more zmano kavua, but you have to add this word, kova nafsho, like kovea l'maiser, it's kovea l'Shabbos. Mimele, it's more chomer than El Chanukah, because chometz or any other mitzvahs you have to do at the beginning of the night. Avshalo kibel Shabbos adayin l'cholav chivas kiddush, v'oso litom klum at shikadosh. Anyway, so we'll see l'maiser from here that Erev Shabbos you cannot have water after chasheicha before kiddush. Havdalah you allowed to be halacha, some noig not to. Now, what the gabe? Could be very practical. What gabe Shabbos before lunch? Could you have? You want to have, let's say, coffee. You want to have water. Could you have it before or not? So like this. The gabe this thing, what I said from Reish Pei Vav, that mutar litam kodem tefillas hamusfin. Most poskim bring that you're allowed to do te'ima before musfin, and even the Bach and I believe the Marshal and many others going ad kedegach, you could even have Su'udah. before Musaf. You could even have Suda, whatever. I'm not going to go to this. Why? So Lamaisa, the Gabe Kiddush, most of them say you do have to have Kiddush. If you want to bank on this Te'ima before Musaf, you have to have the Kiddush before. The Alter Rebbe also bring this. However, here is I could have bring it straight from the Lavush, from the Elia Rabba, but he brings it, bring from Kafacham because he brings more poskim that's maskim to that Elia Rabba. That's what he says here. The Elia Rabba says b'shasat chak. Yeah, according to most poskim, te'ima before Musaf, you're allowed to do, but you have to have kiddush. But the Elia Rabba says b'shasat chak, you have no wine, or you can't make the kiddush, you can't make the suda b'mokem kiddush. You're allowed to eat some fruits, or couldn't drink a coffee or something. Here's the b'shasat chak she'en lo yain upas rak peiros v'chol hashlibe. If he really needs it, he cannot continue to daven. Mutar litam beloy kiddush. The Shlish was al arrived that it says the mutar litam kodem kiddush shaliyom. Ravid is very makel on it. B'chal you're allowed to eat something before kiddush hayom. V'oid the b'zeh shlish b'chal nachlas tzvi shekozah b'siman rapad the lochal kiddush kodem musaf. Kodem musaf b'chal you're not mechuyav in kiddush. Okay, all this from Elia Rabba so far. Then he brings many others saying the same thing. Birkei Yosef, Sha'arei Tshuva, Ateret Zakeinim, the Marshal, Mimele. Since just like this, there's two inyanim of it. Hey, b'shas chak. Shas chak doesn't mean there's no wine in the city. Shas meaning, let's say I'm in shul, I could take a coffee, but to go, I could probably arrange a kiddush before my coffee or before my te'ima. But it's going to be a big deal to ask people a favor, get me the wine, get me some mazoinas. That's called shasat chag. If you do need to have a coffee, you could have it, or even a shtickle mazoinas, you could have it before kiddush, according to them. Like I said, it's called all this shasa. And furthermore, the other, especially let's say somebody wants to drink hot water or coffee before, the lotion of the Aruch HaShulchan legabe havdalah, that you're allowed to have water before. So he says like this: why are you allowed? He adds one word that helps us to understand by Shabbos day also. Levad mimayim that you're allowed to have before havdalah. Al pi halacha she'en boi chashivus klal mutar b'dina. Meaning the water itself doesn't have chashivus b'chlal. So even what matzrich kiddush, other teimas, water has no chashivus. So water for sure you're allowed to do without kiddush. That lechatchila, we don't have to suffer if you're very thirsty. You need to drink something. And even coffee, if somebody has a need, there's definitely many poskim you could rely on it. B'shasat chag, you cannot make kiddush to eat. You could eat teima or drinking coffee or water without kiddush before. So it's again that's sholosh machlokas badover. 3 divisions were. The most chomordik thing is Friday night. Not even water you cannot drink. Then you have Motzei Shabbos mitzad adin you could drink water, but mitzad many not to. And shmutzav even more easier. You could even have fruits and vegetables and drinking something. According to some, try to make kiddush before. If it's big deal to make kiddush, you could eat before musaf, even without the kiddush. Yeah.